This is the story of one of the most powerful women in ancient history, Cleopatra, who was not only known for her legendary beauty, but also her intelligence and political skills. This is the complete story of Cleopatra from birth to death. Born in 69 BC, Cleopatra was the last active ruler of the Ptolemaic kingdom of Egypt, the last pharaoh of ancient Egypt, and the first woman to be both queen and pharaoh. Cleopatra had a difficult childhood after her father, Ptolemy XII, died when she was only 14 years old. While still just a teenager, Cleopatra II gave birth to twins with her brother Encouragent. At this point, Cleopatra II fled to Rome with her children, where she met the Roman general Pompey. Upon his death, his advisors set Cleopatra's younger brother, Ptolemy XIII, as the new pharaoh and made him marry their 12-year-old sister Cleopatra II. But while they were in Rome, news came that her brother had taken control of Egypt, and even more shockingly, he had ordered the execution of their children. She waited patiently for her revenge, and she got her chance when Julius Caesar came to Egypt, because these children would have become the future rulers of Egypt if they were killed. Now, upon seeing her beauty, Caesar immediately fell head over heels in love with her, and helped her seize the throne of Egypt. Soon after the birth of their children, Cleopatra II and her brother began fighting over power. Now it is widely believed that Cleopatra had an affair with Pompey and also convinced him to support her claim to the throne of Egypt against her brother Ptolemy. Now this turned out to be the worst day of Cleopatra's life, and possibly the worst day in the history of Egypt. Now at this time, the most powerful man in Rome was Octavian, who was Caesar's grandnephew and adopted son, who had changed his name to Augustus. And Cleopatra never forgot the humiliation and pain of losing her children. He thought she would betray him just like a brother did to Caesar. So right before entering Alexandria, he sent soldiers to spy on Cleopatra. After hearing this, Cleopatra seized the opportunity and left the temple and met Augustus and offered her fleet to help him win the war. While most people are familiar with Cleopatra's story and her relationship with Roman general and later dictator Julius Caesar, what many do know is how he actually helped her take revenge for the murder of her children. The spies found that Cleopatra was living in poverty in a small house. In fact, she wasn't even dressed like a queen or a pharaoh. Instead, she looked like a beggar. He cut off its food supply and forced the priests to leave, then entered the temple himself. When Caesar arrived in Alexandria, Cleopatra went to see him by disguising herself as the wife of a merchant. Back in Rome, Augustus celebrated his victory and prepared to divide Egypt amongst his generals. According to them, Cleopatra had taken her own life rather than submit to Augustus. It says that when Augustus entered the temple, he found a basket with a note inside. Together, Caesar and Cleopatra ruled over Egypt for 4 years until Caesar was assassinated in Rome. They had a son together whom they named Caesar. However, like her children with Pompey, Caesarion's life was also in danger because her brother, Ptolemy XIII, wanted to end Cleopatra's bloodline once and for all. There she had a deadly snake kept in a basket. She believed that this snake was immune to any poison and would therefore bite her and kill her instantly. So once Caesar was dead, Cleopatra had to flee to a temple where she hid for 3 years, while her brother took control of Egypt and even married one of Caesar's former mistresses. With this note, Augustus became worried that she might have hidden a large treasure somewhere and spent the rest of his life searching for it. However, like all tyrants, Ptolemy XIII proved to be a very bad leader, and in a few years he squandered the fortune of Egypt. And after Cleopatra's death, the Romans worshipped her as a goddess too. Augustus started a war against Cleopatra and her brother, and he needed the support of the Egyptian fleet to win the war. Perhaps the truth lies somewhere in between. Whatever the case, Cleopatra remains one of the most fascinating and enigmatic figures in history. Some say that she used her charm to fool men and get what she wanted. What we do know is that Cleopatra was the last great pharaoh of Egypt, and her death marked the end of the line of pharaohs and the end of an era. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more historical tales. As soon as she provided her naval forces to the Romans, Augustus became suspicious of her intentions. During this time, a guard opened the door to a tomb and a strong draft blew through the room, which caused the snake to escape and disappear. But as soon as they arrived, they were shocked by what they saw. To make matters worse, when the spies brought this news back to Augustus, he learned that Cleopatra had given birth to another child, a baby boy who was the spitting image of Caesar. Once Augustus heard this, he became furious and decided to conquer Egypt and punish Cleopatra for killing Caesar's heir. As soon as this happened, Cleopatra knew that she had to escape, and she took refuge in the Temple of Artemis, which was considered sacred ground and no one was allowed to enter without risking divine retribution. However, Augustus didn't care about any god and he besieged the temple. But he couldn't find Cleopatra anywhere, so he returned to Rome believing that he had won. But soon after, messengers arrived from Alexandria with some very shocking news. Did Cleopatra really take her own life? Well, according to history, she did. On the note, Cleopatra wrote that she survived and was hiding somewhere else. But it is said that he never found any of Cleopatra's hidden treasure. There are various accounts of Cleopatra's death, but the most popular one comes from Plutarch, who was a Greek historian. According to Plutarch, Cleopatra was hiding in a tomb beneath the Temple of Artemis, but unfortunately, when the snake bit her, she started convulsing and thrashing around. So Cleopatra began to bleed profusely from the wound on her arm, and despite the efforts of her servants, she eventually died. But there are other accounts of Cleopatra's death that say she willingly ended her own life by allowing an assassin to stab her in the chest. But we can't know for sure how she died. When Cleopatra's lover, Julius Caesar, died, the Roman Senate declared him a god. Even today, people debate whether Cleopatra was a villain or a hero. Others say that she was an intelligent ruler who could match wits with anyone. So what are your thoughts on Cleopatra? Do you think she was a villain or a hero, or perhaps something in between? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.